There is something about Florida that feels engineered. It is the most designed wilderness in America, a place paved into pastel subdivisions and screened-in pools, sliced by canals ruled straight, dotted with retirement towns and theme parks and golf courses mowed to the exact green of AstroTurf. You drive a road named after a developer. You wade into a warm canal to cool off. You let a toddler wander the edge of a retention pond behind the clubhouse, and the whole time the state is whispering the same reassurance to you. It's tamed. It's finished. The wild parts are somewhere else, out in the Everglades where the tour boats go. But Florida is not a finished place. It is the northern edge of the tropics wearing a coat of concrete. Turn off the interstate and the water goes dark, and the sawgrass closes in, and you are standing in one of the last great subtropical wildernesses on the continent, a place so warm and so wet and so full of hiding room that it holds a concentration of giant snakes found almost nowhere else on Earth. Some of them belong here. They were here before the roads had names, and some of them are refugees from other continents, escaped or dumped or blown loose in a hurricane that decided Florida was close enough to home to stay. Here is the part that should stop you. The people who know these snakes best, the biologists who track them, tag them, cut them open to see what they've eaten, are not the ones telling you Florida is safe. They are the ones who have quietly stopped talking about winning. Today, we are counting down 10 giant snakes hiding in Florida, ranked not simply by length, but by how completely they've slipped the sunny picture most people carry of this state, and how thoroughly they've earned the respect of the experts who refuse to underestimate them. From the native giants you've walked right past, to the invaders a road's width from a national park, to the one at number 1 that scientists have all but conceded they cannot beat. Before we start, if you like the kind of thing that makes you look twice at a place you thought you had figured out, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. And while you're here, I want to know one thing. Where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your town in the comments. I love seeing how far these travel. Now, let's get into the list. Number 10, the Florida pine snake. We begin with a giant that most Floridians have never knowingly seen because it spends most of its life below their feet. The Florida pine snake is a heavy, thick-bodied native snake that averages 4 to 5.5 feet, but has been recorded at 90 inches, 7.5 feet of muscle, living in the dry, sandy uplands of the state's pine woods and scrub. It is a burrower, forcing its way down into pocket gopher tunnels and gopher tortoise holes to hunt, which is exactly why you don't see it. It lives in the ground, and when it is finally cornered, it does something that has saved its life and doomed its reputation at the same time. It rears up, inflates its body, and hisses, a loud, hard, blowing hiss while buzzing its tail against the dry leaves. To a nervous hiker, a big blotchy snake making a rattling sound in the palmetto reads as one thing only, and people kill pine snakes every year believing they have killed a diamondback. The pine snake is harmless. It is also disappearing. Florida listed it as a threatened species in 2017, as the sandy uplands it needs are bladed for development. Number 10 is the native giant that mimics the state's deadliest snake to survive and is quietly losing anyway. Number 9, the eastern coachwhip. Now, the giant you'll never catch a good look at, because by the time you register it, it's already gone. The eastern coachwhip is one of the longest native snakes in all of North America, averaging 4 to 6 feet, with a record specimen measured at 102 inches, 8.5 feet of whip-thin body, and it is built for one thing, which is speed. It is faster on open ground than almost any snake on the continent, a daylight hunter with big round eyes and keen vision that will actually raise its head and shoulders off the ground to look around, a behavior handlers call periscoping, locking visually onto prey before it strikes. Its long, braided-looking tail gave rise to an old piece of folklore, that a coach whip will chase a person down and whip them to death. It won't. It can't. But the myth persists because the animal is so long and so fast that the encounter feels like an attack, even when the snake is only fleeing. It slips through the same sandy flatwoods and suburban lot lines where people walk their dogs every morning, a genuine giant moving at a speed the eye can't quite follow. Number 9 is the longest thing in the underbrush that you have almost certainly never seen still. Number 8, the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. Here is the native heavyweight and the one animal on this list that the experts have always taken seriously. The eastern diamondback is the largest venomous snake in North America and the largest rattlesnake on Earth, commonly 4 to 6 feet, with records reaching 8 feet, and the heaviest confirmed specimen tipping the scales at around 34 pounds. In proportion to its body, it carries the longest fangs of any rattlesnake, and it can deliver an enormous dose of venom, an average yield of 400 milligrams or more, into a strike that reaches 2/3 of its own body length. For a 6-foot snake, that is a 4-foot lunge. It lives in every county in Florida. It hunts the pine flatwoods and the palmetto scrub. It swims between barrier islands through open saltwater, and it does the one thing that makes it so dangerous. It holds still and trusts its camouflage, lying coiled and silent while people in shorts and sandals step past, certain they'd hear the rattle in time. It owes them no such warning and often gives none. Even this snake, the one everyone claims to respect, is in decline, killed on sight, collected for its skin, and its habitat paved. Number 8 is the giant Florida has feared the longest and is still steadily erasing. Number 7, the eastern indigo snake. Now the surprise of the native list, a giant that is on your side and vanishing anyway. The eastern indigo snake is the longest native snake species in all of North America, reaching up to 8 feet 7 inches, a smooth scaled animal so glossy black it flashes iridescent purple and blue in the sun, with a wash of orange-red across its chin and throat. Its scientific name translates roughly to Lord of the Forest, and it earns it. The indigo is non-venomous. It kills nothing with poison. Instead, it uses its size and its jaws to overpower whatever it wants, and what it wants includes the most dangerous snakes in Florida, cottonmouths, and eastern diamondback rattlesnakes. Biologists believe the indigo is largely immune to rattlesnake venom, which means this beautiful blue-black giant spends its life hunting the animal at number 8. But it needs enormous connected territory to survive. A single snake may range across hundreds or thousands of acres, and Florida's habitat has been carved into pieces too small to hold it. It is federally threatened. In one preserve in the Panhandle, it vanished entirely by 1982, and biologists have spent the last several years physically releasing captive-bred indigos to bring the king of the forest back. Number 7 is the largest native snake on the continent, a giant that protects you from the others, and one we nearly lost without noticing. Number 6, the boa constrictor. We've reached the halfway point, and this is where Florida stops being a native story and becomes something stranger, a place where giant snakes from other continents have quietly moved in and never left. If you are still with me, you clearly want to know what's actually out there, so this is the moment to subscribe if you have not, because from here the list gets genuinely hard to believe. Start with the boa constrictor. Native to Central and South America, this is one of the largest snakes in the world, with Florida females reaching 12 to 14 feet and 30 to 60 pounds. And there has been a wild breeding population of them living in southern Miami, centered on the grounds of a historic county park, the Charles Deering Estate, for roughly 70 years. 70 years. This is not a recent arrival or a loose pet. It is an established, reproducing colony of a giant tropical constrictor, living out its entire life cycle inside a major American city, giving live birth to litters of young, spending its days tucked down in the limestone solution holes and burrows of the ground while people picnic overhead. Number 6 is the 12-foot snake that has been a permanent resident of Miami for the better part of a century, and that most residents have no idea shares their zip code. Number 5, the yellow anaconda. Now the water starts to get dangerous in a different way. The yellow anaconda is a South American water boa, a heavy semi-aquatic constrictor whose females reach 11 to 13 feet, and it keeps turning up in Florida where it absolutely should not be. It is not considered established. There is no confirmed breeding population, but individual animals have been found in the wild, pulled from the canals and wetlands, each one a snake that was almost certainly someone's pet before it got too big, too mean, and too expensive to keep. That's the pattern that should worry you, because it's the exact pattern that started every other invasion on this list. A giant aquatic constrictor, perfectly suited to Florida's endless warm water, released one animal at a time until enough of them find each other. The experts watch these captures closely for one reason. They've seen what happens when the state shrugs at a not established snake and comes back a decade later to find it everywhere. Number 5 is the water boa that keeps surfacing in Florida's canals, one warning at a time. Number 4, the reticulated python. This is the longest snake in the world. Full stop. The reticulated python, native to Southeast Asia, is the record holder for length of any snake on the planet, capable of exceeding 20 feet, and representatives of it have been captured and sighted in the wild in Florida. Like the anaconda before it, it is not considered established. There is no confirmed reproducing population. But the animals are here, showing up in the canals and the brush, each one an escaped or released pet of a species that grows longer than any other serpent alive. Think about what that means in practice. Florida's climate is a near-perfect match for the tropical Asia this snake comes from. Every giant reticulated python found in a South Florida canal is a test the ecosystem is running in real time. Will this be the one that finds a mate, the way the Burmese python did decades ago? The people whose job it is to answer that question do not find it reassuring that the world's longest snake is turning up loose in the swamp. Number 4 is the longest snake on Earth, auditioning for a permanent role in Florida, one loose animal at a time. Number 3, the green anaconda. And here is the heaviest snake in the world. The green anaconda, the massive water boa of South America, with females reaching 15 to 20 feet and weighing hundreds of pounds, pound for pound, the largest snake alive, has been found again and again in Florida. The first was spotted back in 2003 near a campground on the edge of the Everglades. Since then, they have been pulled from the wild from the south of the peninsula all the way north toward Gainesville, and by one count, biologists had removed 7 of them by 2020. It is not established. Not yet. But the green anaconda is semi-aquatic and built for exactly this landscape: the sloughs, the canals, the flooded prairie, and a giant like this, if it ever gained a foothold, would have no predators in Florida and a menu that could include deer, wading birds, and alligators. That is precisely why every anaconda capture goes into a file the experts watch with real unease. They are not asking whether the heaviest snake on Earth could live in Florida. They already know it can. They're waiting to find out if it's breeding. Number 3 is the heaviest snake in the world, treading water at the edge of the Everglades. Number 2, the northern African python. Now the one that keeps the biologists up at night, not because it's the biggest, but because it's the meanest, and because of where it's standing. The northern African python, also called the African rock python, is the largest snake in Africa, capable of reaching 20 feet in its native range. And it is aggressive, in a way the other giants on this list are not. This is a snake with a reputation for hatchlings that come out of the egg already striking. An animal so ill-tempered that pet keepers who couldn't handle it appear to have dumped a whole batch of them, perhaps a dozen or more all at once, into a marsh on the western edge of Miami. Those dumped snakes did the thing everyone feared. They started breeding. There is now an established reproducing population of African rock pythons confined to a small area, roughly 6 square miles, in western Miami-Dade County. One of them strangled a Siberian husky in a Miami backyard. And here is the detail that makes the experts grip the wheel. That 6 square mile pocket sits right against the boundary of the Everglades. This snake is visually and ecologically almost identical to the animal at number 1, a second giant constrictor, more aggressive than the first, that only has to cross a road to disappear into the same wilderness. Biologists have spent years trying to trap out every last one before that happens. Number 2 is the aggressive twin, waiting one road away from the place it could never be removed from. Number 1, the Burmese python. And so we arrive at number 1, and it is, of course, the Burmese python, not because it is the longest snake in Florida or the heaviest, but because it is the one the experts have stopped promising to defeat. Native to Southeast Asia, established as a breeding population in South Florida by around the year 2000, a spread biologists believe was supercharged when Hurricane Andrew tore open a python breeding facility in 1992. This snake has done something no other animal on this list has managed. It has won. Consider the numbers, because they are almost too large to hold. The Burmese python is now spread across more than 1,000 square miles of southern Florida, coast to coast, through Everglades National Park and Big Cypress and beyond. Estimates of how many are out there range from tens of thousands to over 300,000, and no one really knows, because the animal is nearly impossible to find. In one study, even seasoned herpetologists spotted only about 1% of the pythons hidden in a controlled space. 1%. For every giant snake anyone lays eyes on, 99 are invisible in the sawgrass. And they eat everything. In the core of the Everglades, raccoon populations have fallen by more than 99% since 1997. Opossums by nearly 99. Bobcats by close to 90. Marsh rabbits, cottontails, and foxes have effectively vanished from the areas the pythons have held longest. Researchers cutting open these snakes have cataloged 24 species of mammals, nearly 50 species of birds, and even alligators inside them, in one case pulling a 5-foot gator out of an 18-foot python. The heaviest ever captured in Florida was a female tracked down by biologists following a radio-tagged scout male. She weighed 215 pounds, stretched nearly 18 feet, carried 122 developing eggs, and had a whole white-tailed deer in her stomach. The longest, caught near Naples in 2023, measured a full 19 feet. Florida throws everything at them. There's an annual Python Challenge where hundreds of hunters comb the Everglades for 10 days. The 2025 event drew nearly 1,000 people who removed a record 294 snakes. More than 23,000 pythons have been pulled from the state since 2000. And here is the quiet, devastating truth underneath all of it. The experts have stopped calling eradication a goal. The population is simply too large, spread across too much impossible terrain, breeding too fast, a single female laying dozens to 100 eggs a year. The people who know this snake best no longer talk about getting rid of it. They talk about slowing it down. Number one is the giant that beat the state, the one no expert will ever underestimate again, because they already tried and lost. So here's what this list is really about. Not fear. Fear is easy in Florida, and it burns off the second you're back on the interstate. It's about the gap between the state Florida sells you and the state that actually exists underneath it. The pastel one, the paved one, the one with the pool and the golf course and the tour boat that takes you to see the real wilderness for an hour before dropping you back at the gift shop. That Florida is a coat worn over the northern edge of the tropics, and the tropics are full of giants. The pine snake is still hissing underground in the scrub behind the subdivision. The boa is still coiled in a limestone hole beneath a Miami park it has owned for 70 years. The African python is still waiting one road away from the Everglades. And somewhere out in 1,000 square miles of sawgrass, 99% invisible, a snake as long as a giraffe is tall is doing the thing it was built to do, which is disappear, while the people who understand it best have quietly folded up their maps of victory and started drawing maps of containment instead. That's the part worth sitting with. Not that the snakes are here, it's that the ones who study them for a living, the biologists, the trackers, the ones with the radio collars and the necropsy tables, are the least surprised people in the state. They stopped underestimating these animals a long time ago. The rest of Florida just hasn't caught up yet.